Hello and welcome to another Inside Story. This is where we go behind the scenes and share things with you that you'll probably never see on my TV program, but things that are really important, great things that God's doing through the ministry here. And today I've got Billy and Becky Epperhart with me, and Billy has just assumed the position of CEO of Andrew Wommack Ministries, and boy, he has been a super blessing. So anyway, before we get into what he's doing right now and what that means, being CEO of the ministry, let's give the people a little bit of background on you guys. Where did you come from? And just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, we've been in Colorado about 32 years. We've been married for 46 years. We have 2 children.
Yes.
And our daughter is named Brooke. She's 41. She lives in Hawaii. Our son is Brant.
Do you go to see her in Hawaii?
Oh yeah, that's man. We're planning. Actually, she's going to do it when I take a trip, I think. And then our son is Brant, and he's 40, and he pastors a church in Denver called Legacy Chapel. And then we have 4 grandsons.
Yes.
And their names are ages.
They are Braden is 14.
You have to ask her.
Yeah, did you notice that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Braden is 14, Nolan is 12, Camden is 9, and Owen is 7.
All boys?
All boys.
All boys.
Oh, wow.
We believe in arranged marriage too.
Arranged marriage. Yeah.
So you actually pastored for a while.
I pastored a total of 29 years, and I pastored in Louisiana 2 different churches. One was for a little over a year, and the other one was 7.5 years or so.
And you were actually a part of Mark Hankins' church, weren't you, or his dad? Or?
No, I was part of Mark Hankins' dad's church, which is B.B.
They were our
Hankins.
pastors.
Was in West Columbia, Texas. So if you go back there,
many people would probably know B.B. and Mark.
They know Mark. A lot of them know Mark pretty well now, and so and I know Mark, really well, and right now as well.
Yeah,
so.
he told me to call you Billy Wayne.
Yeah, BW or Billy Wayne.
Yeah, anytime you say Billy Wayne, it's somebody who's known you a
long time. Yeah, that's what they, down south, everybody's first name is 2 names, So mine was Billy Wayne and hers was Becky K. So we're definitely from the South.
Yeah.
That's actually South Texas.
So you pastored for, what'd you say, 20-something years?
29 years. 29 years, and so I was in Denver. I came from Louisiana to Denver, and I'm trying to think of the time frame, but
in 1987.
Yeah,
we moved here in 87.
I heard about you when you were pastoring in Denver. I think the first time I'd heard about you.
Yeah.
And Lawson Purdue's a mutual friend, and he told me about you a lot.
I've known Lawson since he was 16. So,
I've known him since he was 14.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we go back with him, so we both know him pretty well. And
yeah.
I served on his board for quite a few years.
So how did you get from, for those that don't know, we'll talk about this, but you have a whole ministry on money and an entrepreneurship. You got books out on that and stuff. How did you get from pastoring into being in the marketplace?
Well, while I was still pastoring, I always had a hunger for things in the marketplace. I didn't really know as a minister how to understand, what to do with that. But then I actually met Paul Milligan, previous CEO. He and I met each other quite a few years back after I started investing in real estate, even as a pastor. And what happened, I didn't see it coming, but through the process of investing, I actually became completely financially independent, and then later, actually beyond that, by investing in real estate. And I own property in 5 different markets at the same time across America. So I'd get on an airplane, and I was able to do that later because I retired, completely from both pastoring and working for about 3 years, completely retired. And then the Lord, I will tell that maybe if we get a chance. But anyway, then I met Paul in that time, and he and I used to travel together and speak a lot in different conferences. So I didn't really see the speaking thing as a part of it. I just wanted to reach
That's how I really got to know you, is through Paul.
Right.
And when Paul came to Caris and started the business school, he tapped you, I think, to help him.
He did. He called me actually the very same day you guys had the talk.
That's amazing because I talked to him and he sounded really excited, and then I didn't hear from him for 3 months. And I thought, well, he must have thought better of it. And I guess he was excited, but he wasn't telling me. He was writing all the curriculum.
Oh yeah, he was excited, and I remember him calling me, and the story on this side was I was retired. I mean, literally, I said to myself I was retired. We were living in Houston. We had a home in Keystone, Colorado as well. And then we had a home in Houston. And so we went back and forth, and I was in Houston. And I remember he called me on my cell phone, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And it, back in those days, it actually did have caller ID. That was, and I saw it, and it said Paul Milligan, and I was getting ready to hit decline for real. This is absolutely true. I was getting ready to hit decline, and I thought, I don't want to talk to him right now. And we're in my pickup, my F-150. We're in Houston taking stuff to a Goodwill store. We're getting rid of a bunch of junk. We're purging. And Paul's calling me, and she sees me getting ready to hit decline on my phone, and she hits me. She slaps me.
Becky, you tell this story. I've heard some of this, and I think you would tell it better than Billy.
Yeah. So you saw me get ready.
I did, and I told him, I said, you need to answer that. Bill and Paul did a lot of things together, and when they were alone together, one of their dreams was to always do something together in the business field.
That's true.
And so
to take the stuff that God had taught you and disciple
and e-school. We called it back in there between ourselves. We called it an e-school, which was an entrepreneurial school, is what we called it back in those days, just in conversation.
So anyway, we know Paul and Patsy very well, very good friends of ours. And I knew Paul's not one just to pick up the phone and call and chat.
No, he's not.
So I knew if he was calling, it was for a reason. Yeah. And so that was the main thing
why
I said
how
to
hard you
answer.
hit me in the truck.
Well, no, that's not the discussion.
Well, she said, you're going to answer that phone. You're going to answer it right now.
I think she was tired of you doing nothing, being retired.
She told me if I didn't get up, right before that, she told me if I didn't get off the couch, she was going to kill me. She came in one day, and I was playing golf and sitting in my back, had a big saltwater pool in my backyard, and I was just laying in that pool, and she told me if I didn't get off the couch. And so Paul called me, and another guy named Lance Wallnow called me 30 days after Paul, and he was doing some of his stuff, and so that was about 2.5 years when I just kind of went into that kind of retirement.
Well, everybody needs a vision of doing something to keep you going. And
I learned that the hard way.
And if you reach your goals, which what I know about you, you were very prosperous. You succeeded. There wasn't anything you're striving for. Man, that's a downer.
That's a downer because you have to have a reason to live.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're both so excited about being here with you, sincerely, because I realize on the personal side you have to have something, a reason, a purpose, and we both feel 100%. And you know what's cool about it is it's so cool to be able to do something you don't have to do. I mean, to do financially or have to do to work, but to really want to do it. And there's a difference. Believe me, there's a difference. And I know you know that, but there's a difference when you don't have to do something, but you really want to do it.
So when was that you came to the business school and started
2011 is when I first taught. Paul called me at the end of 10. Right at the end of 10 or 11, somewhere in there. And then I think my first time I ever taught was probably in 11. I think that's right.
And I remember you coming and staying at our lodge, and you were teaching in the school and stuff. And that's when I first got to really start visiting with you. And I remember it might have been 2011 or 12. Maybe you'd been around for a while. But you told me one time that you said, I want you to know I'm 100% with you.
I told you that. Well, I told you that several times, but
when you came here, I mean, God just really knit you to this ministry. And you told me that when you had no indication that you'd ever be working with us or anything.
Well, I think without disparaging anybody or anything else, I'd never want to do that. But when I look back and look at ministries that I knew of, and I respected many ministries, loved them, even supported them, still do, right? But when I came around you and Jamie, I saw something I had never seen in ministry. The level of authenticity and the level of integrity, I like to say it this way, you still take out your own trash. That kind of...
That's absolutely true.
Yes, I know it's true. But you're so down to earth. And not that any of the other stuff that I saw necessarily was bad. That's not
I know what you're talking about. I think most people do.
Right. And so... but
they get to where they feel like they're cut above everybody else, and that's not true.
Yeah, and they're not. And so for us, we'd already kind of come from that world, and so when I saw it, really saw it for what I saw the first time, I was like, I told her, I said, Andrew and Jamie are real, and there's a different level here of authenticity than I've ever witnessed before. And honestly, I didn't know she was going to let me, the same one who told me if I didn't get off the couch, she was going to kill me. I had no idea that she was even going to let me get, the very first time we talked about being executive vice president, I wasn't sure she was going to let me do that. And she was in it 100%. And then when the CEO thing came up, she was 1,000%.
So you came in 2011, but you still lived in the Denver area and
Denver
commuted
area.
back and forth until until just last
2
few
months ago.
months. Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah, it's been 3 months now, about almost 3 months. We actually purchased.
So how long a drive? I mean, well, that's the wrong question because you drive so fast. That's not pertinent. How many miles?
How many miles? It's I
I
can
don't
make it
know.
on some mornings. I'm kidding. I can make it pretty quick on some mornings. It's about probably 70 miles.
Yeah.
70 miles.
And you commuted back and
I
forth?
commuted sometimes every day. Back and forth. I'd stay at the lodge, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we get to talking about the new role, that's when we went ahead and I closed on a house quickly.
Yeah. And before we get into what you're doing right now, give the people that are watching a little bit of background on your money ministry. You've got books that you've written, you hold conferences, you train people in this, and you've got, you'll have to explain the right word, but these banks over in foreign countries, micro loans and things.
Microfinance. Yeah.
What do you do?
So basically, we have two primary ministries that we started back in when we started getting off the couch, and one is called Wealth Builders. And
Did you not start that until you started coming here with the business school?
I started Tricord, which would be the second one, in 2007, so it was before that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wealth Builders actually did not start until about the same time, about 2011.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought they'd been going a long time before.
And formally, we started it legally in 13. So we started calling it that in 11. And so the first one, Tricord, is where we mobilize investment money. One of the things I did in real estate that was a little bit unusual is I never had any other investors go in with me. I always did it myself. Now I had to borrow money in order to do it, to make investments, but I never had anybody invest with me. We always invested ourselves. And so we got to keep the whole action. If it worked, then it really worked. And of course it did, and we were blessed by that. But the other side of that is I learned a little bit more about how money worked. And then through that period of time that we haven't talked about, I also got my MBA, right, from Colorado State here in Colorado. And so I wanted to take what I had learned, and I wanted to take what I learned in the business world, what I learned academically, and use it to help other people. Not just to, I always call it learn to make sense of making money for making a difference. And I really wanted to make a difference. And so the Lord began to speak to me about going into countries and mobilizing money to give people loans where they could start businesses. And so one of the things I learned, if we come over here and we raise money, say for missions, which we support and believe in very strongly in missions, but I have to come back to America or a Western nation, right? So if I spend $1 in the country, I got to come back and raise $1 to replace it. When you do microfinance or lending, you're actually able, through that process, to keep that dollar in the country. So we never take the dollar out. Now, we do receive interest back, but relatively speaking, it's a very small amount. And so we're able to keep that capital working. We call it sustainability. So the capital gets sustained and it grows. And we've now helped, I said on one recently, 10,000, but somebody just sent me a report. We've helped now, we've had over 14,000 clients that we've helped, and some of them with loans as small as $50.
Now, I know you do this in Uganda with one of my friends over there, Pastor Herbert.
That's the reason we're in Uganda.
Do you have other places?
We were in, before this, we were in Malawi, and we helped a lot of people in Malawi, and we were in Colombia, South America, and we're not in Colombia right now.
So you take investors that give you this money, you put the money over there, and you put this out, and you get interest off of that.
That's right. They pay us,
and that pays back your investors, and then keeps the
So the way it works is an investor will make somewhere between, this is going to, top sounds a little high, but they'll make between 4 and 8%, depending on. But we make an average of 12 to 13%.
And see, some people may think, well, that's a lot, but in these foreign countries, you can't even get money, and if you do, it's over 20%.
It's well over that, because And what Americans don't understand or a lot of Western nations don't understand, that the central bank lending rate in these Western nations is so low. We're basically in America right now, we're at 0%. So even if you Google this and look it up on the internet, for example, you see in Uganda for years it was at 16%. Then it dropped to 13%. And what people don't realize, that's not the percentage rate that somebody can go borrow money at. That's the rate the banks borrow from the central bank. So when you actually go to the bank, if you're a good customer, I mean like a really good customer, you're paying 30% APR. And that means you have collateral and you have a good history.
Which the normal person over there has neither one of those.
So these microfinance loans, I know what it's doing in Pastor Herbert's church over there. And it's changing people's lives. It's bringing them out of poverty.
Yeah, so when you look at that, and you look at the people like one of our business school graduates, Samuel, now has, we lent the money, and we also, in his case, we also gave him money to help, but we bought the farm, and it was approximately $100,000 US. And then we also provided and gave to him a tractor, trailer, plow, some other things, and then he also borrowed for another tractor. Today he has 3 tractors and employs over 200 people in his village.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he employs over 200 people.
I remember talking to him over in Uganda and stuff.
Yeah, and that happened from one loan to one of our business school students.
Yeah, and he's a great example because his uncle or somebody was going to loan him the money, but he had to renounce his faith in the Lord.
Had to renounce his faith.
And because he had already been through 2 years of school before he went to business school, he had the foundation to say no. That's good. And he trusted God, and it's worked.
No, and when he said no, it was a true conviction of faith on his part, because I know about the deal, and his uncle was really willing to actually give him the land, but he wanted to renounce his faith. And Samuel came to me, and I told him, I talked to Paul and I said, just give me a little time and we'll work it out. And we did, and it worked out, and it's a blessing to see everything that's happening.
So you hold seminars, Wealth Builder seminars. What do you do at a seminar?
Well, I wrote a book called Money Mastery, and I think we have it on the website here at AWM. And the theme of that is making sense of making money for making a difference. And so in the book, we really talk about how to make money, but then we also talk about that it's not about just what you can get for yourself, but it's about the difference you can make. And so how you make a difference, we actually explain that in the book, different ways that you can actually make a difference, not just in your giving. Now, we obviously talk about giving in there, but we also talk about with your investing. And so people give out of certain pockets, they invest out of sometimes other pockets. And so basically we teach you how to do that, how to make a difference, and how you go about doing that.
So with your background as being a pastor, you're not only a business guy, but you communicate well, and you speak at my stuff and things, and it's really good. You not only give people knowledge, but you inspire them and stuff. And a lot of our people go to your seminars. I've heard some great reports.
Well, actually, as I've said to you, if it wasn't for you and the ministry here, really that's been the primary platform. We have a lot of other folk who connect with us, but I'm sure many of those watching this today know that the Andrew Wommack Ministries and Charis Bible College reaches millions, tens of millions of people all over the world. And so so a lot of what we do has come from that platform.
Awesome. So you've been working in the business school, but then as Paul, he was our CEO from, he's been on my board for 30 years or something, but he was CEO from 2014 on. And then he had some physical problems. And during this time, you helped basically run the business school while he was having some of these things. And then you just kept getting sucked more and more and more into the ministry. And you were, in a sense, like a or assistant to the CEO for what, a year or two?
For a couple, almost 2 years. Probably.
And so you have actually been training
a
lot of my staff, like Andrew Wirtz and Mike and Carrie Pickett. You have been training them and discipling them for many years now.
Yeah, Mike and Carrie, I think Carrie's watching right here today, for about 5 years with them. And then Andrew Wirtz has been about the last year and a half. But, their quality, both of them, those couples, Andrew and Jeremy and Mike and Carrie, are such quality God-called people to this ministry. So it's been a privilege. But I didn't see that opportunity coming like that, but it just the Lord kind of set that all up, and it's really been tremendous.
So your fingerprints are all over this ministry.
Well, yeah,
Really
and
good.
some ways directly and indirectly. I always like to say we're just glad to be along for the ride, right?
We are. And our other thing we say is we're living the dream.
We're living the dream.
And this is quite a commitment for you to be able to leave your kids and your grandkids up in Denver and move down here. How's that
They're
going?
excited.
Are they?
Oh, when they found out that we found a place on a golf course, they're all wanted golf clubs for Christmas.
Amen.
Well, the truth is we still have our house in Denver, but I don't know how long we'll have it. But we did it for them primarily because they feel more secure if they think we're going to come back there. So right now we go back on Saturday, Sunday, and then right now we were going to be here only Monday through Thursday or Monday through now.
I think the first week that you came on as CEO, you told me you put in 90 hours.
That is true.
And I said, you can't continue to do that. But
well, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm trying to learn.
But this would really bless the people just to hear your perspective, because you've been associated with the ministry now for 9 years. You've been close. You've been training some of our people.
I've been on the board.
But when you take over as CEO and you started doing a deep dive, there's a lot to this ministry.
I always say you don't know what you don't know, and I'm right now. People, some of the other leaders here were kind of concerned. Well, is Billy going to come in and make a lot of changes? And I told him I'm not making any changes. I'm trying to learn. I'm going to give myself time to learn what's going on, and even though I work with Paul really closely. And Paul was an excellent CEO.
Oh, Paul's been a blessing.
I mean, he's been a tremendous blessing. There's still stuff that I was around that unless you do a deep dive and really get to I call it getting a pulse on what's down in there, you don't know. It was 600 at the very beginning there, through a period, 650 employees. So there's a lot going on that people don't know.
And just for those of you watching that haven't heard this, Paul Milligan has been on my board for many years, and then he ran the ministry from 14 on, but in 2018 he had a seizure and it put him out of commission for a number of months. He began to respond and was doing pretty good, but he came to me, I think in the summer, maybe July of 2019, and just said that he was ready to retire. So he was going to give me a year to transition. We were raising up other people, and then he had another seizure, and basically just for a month or so he was struggling to function.
Right.
Now, he's doing real well now from everything we know. But anyway, since he was already transitioning out and he was dealing with these things, I just made a decision that Billy just needed to take over. So you took over the CEO position when?
Well, you talked to me about it right around Thanksgiving, you and Miss Jamie, in a real serious way. And so it was actually at Thanksgiving. When we actually made the decision between ourselves that we were going to do that. And then the next week we started communicating, at least with Paul, and we talked to Paul, and then I think we made the announcement sometime in early December.
Well, I'm constantly communicating with our partners and stuff, but I'm more of an inspirational guy. I'm not a figures type of guy and stuff. So since you've come in as CEO, I think it'd bless them for you to just share what position you think the ministry in, how we're doing, what's going on. What's your opinion?
Well, financially, in my opinion, this is probably the most conservative Christian television ministry I've ever seen, in the sense of how money's spent, how money's handled. If we want to talk about the technical side of it, we keep our employee ratio down well below 35%. On the amount of salary we spend, and that's everybody. That's all the expenses that would be in that category, which that's very conservative. But in addition to that, the way money is handled and spent here, we do basically a level 3 audit every year. The ministry, most ministries do not do that. We do a level 3 audit, and every year, of course, we come out clean. We have a high rating around with a lot of people looking at us. So I've never seen one run this tight financially in a positive way, and at the same time be a blessing all over the world. So that's one reason why we're so excited about being here, because those things really came from you and Miss Jamie. And so what's happening now is we just get to kind of catch the wave and ride it that you've already created.
You aren't saying that based on just looking at a ministry from a distance. You've been a part of some pretty large ministries.
have,
You don't
and
have to name names, but
I'm
you
not
do
gonna
have
name names.
experience.
I've been on salary committees and boards and other things across the spectrum, and on the ones I wasn't, I was reasonably, knew what was happening, and so that's honestly one of the reasons we're here. So anybody that would ever complain about Andrew Wommack Ministries or Charis Bible College when it comes to finances or integrity doesn't know what they're talking about.
Well, that's quite a compliment.
That's the truth.
It's the truth.
That's the
That's
absolute
awesome.
truth. Absolute truth.
Amen. So I know that your vision is somewhat dependent upon my vision,
Yeah.
but where do you see things going, or what's happening?
Well, at the Phoenix partnership breakfast we had, lunch breakfast we had, I mentioned I could see myself here 10 years, and then somebody told me recently that the normal CEO or CFO role was usually 3 to 5 years. So I went back and checked that out.
We didn't put a
true.
title on it. We just
Yeah.
said we could see ourselves here.
Yeah.
So we're here to
here in the
serve.
ministry.
But I'm a
whatever
real
that is.
relational guy, and I stick with people quite a while.
No,
so.
you do. You're one of the most loyal I've ever seen. You and Miss Jamie both. So I'm excited about the ministry, but truthfully, I believe, Andrew, really I do. I believe God has called this ministry to be the largest ministry in the world. I genuinely believe that. And it's not because there's some great virtue in being the largest. It's just that is the purpose of God. And I believe it's because of you. There's a lot of things that go with who you are, but how you teach, what you teach, the whole balance of grace and faith, and then the amount of material, if I can just be really candid for a second, the amount of material you're able to cover in your teaching, both on television as well as off of television. Very few people I know have that kind of repertoire of being able to teach and minister like you do. And you add your experience to that.
And one of the things that's really happening now is all of the people that are on staff with me, we are taking our cumulative experience and we're beginning to pool things together like Healing University, our Biblical Worldview, Relationship University. We're beginning to start doing things. And I really think that one of the things that's making that so powerful is that most ministries, it's all built on that one person.
Yeah, just one.
Which I'm not against that. I understand it. But I think we have a synergy by bringing all of these different people together.
And a lot of that synergy is coming, of course, as well from the Bible College.
Yeah.
So you have some of the best teachers in the world anywhere that are here teaching in the Bible College. And in addition to that, look at the people that have wanted to connect and join from the outside. I mean, to me, it's mind-boggling when you start seeing the kind of people God is bringing. So Becky and I always kid ourselves. We just say we're not only along for the ride, but we're hanging on. We're just hanging on
That's
as
the way
you go.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not driving this car.
It's right.
I'm just holding on.
I'm just holding on.
It's like a roller coaster.
I'm telling you.
Well, it's a blessing. I sure appreciate y'all so much. I think it'll really bless the people. We're just about out of time, but it'll bless the people to get to know the people behind the scenes that are making it all work.
Yeah.
And you travel with me some. Matter of fact, you're going to be going with me. Have we got any things planned?
Well, you don't know this part, but I'm going to, well, you might know part of it, but I go to the Netherlands next week to the school, to the Charis Bible College.
Now, you've been traveling a lot before you even took over this position.
Right.
So you traveled the world and spoke.
Yeah, I think last year I did 10 international trips, which is about all I want to do.
That's more than I want.
Yeah, I don't want to do that many this year. But we go to the Grace and Faith in May in the UK.
Yeah.
And then I think we go from there to Poland and Hungary and Germany.
Yeah, and France.
And France. I forgot France.
I just added France.
Oh, man. So we've got and then we've got some others. Together we'll go to the UK for the Ministers Conference.
And the business summit.
Yeah, now you did a business summit. You and Paul did a business summit. Now, was he able to go?
No, he couldn't go to that.
That was when he had one of those seizures.
Yeah, he had a seizure. Yeah. Karen Conrad went last year with us.
But that was a real success.
Oh, man.
Good.
Yeah, people in Europe are hungry. In UK, they're hungry for that kind of teaching.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Well, anyway, I hope this has blessed all of you. You know, it's awesome, the people that God has brought to me. And this is one of the things that's such an encouragement to me, because if I was to go out and try and hire Billy and Becky, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't know, first of all, who to hire. I'm not qualified in these areas. I am not a businessman. And I wouldn't have had the money to pay them. And I won't tell them the financial arrangement, but we are blessed. We are blessed. And it's just such a blessing to me to see the quality people that God is bringing to me, that they could be doing anything they want to do, and yet they really want to be a part of this. And so for those of you who are partners with us, I want you to know that your ministry here is in good hands. I believe that God has His hand all over it, and praise God, the best is yet to come.
Amen.
So we just wanted to give you this little behind-the-scenes thing. Thanks, Billy and Becky,
Thank you
for being here and doing Inside Story with us. And we'll see you again next week for another, next month for another Inside Story.
On this edition of Inside Story, Andrew interviewed the new CEO of Wommack Ministries, Billy&BeckyEpperhart, and his wife, Becky. Billy pastored for many years, but he always had a desire to be in the marketplace. Through investing in real estate, he became financially independent. Now he loves empowering others to build their wealth so that they have a city and nation impact for the kingdom of God. You can order his book, Money Mastery, by going to awmi.net. Partnership can be a fun family affair with Wommack Ministries. Watch as these families share their experience about partnership.
My wife and I realized early on that we were being fed immensely through Andrew's teaching.
My life is changed by this ministry. Why would I not want to support it and be able to participate in other people having access to the same information, the same teaching, the same life-giving message that changed my life?
So we're now invested in that ministry, so it's amazing.
When I saw the fruit of what he was doing and how he believed God, and I just knew it was important for us to team up with this for the kingdom.
To me, it gives us the opportunity. This has given us a new life, and the impact it's made on our lives, and also the out of it we've gotten direction from God in life.
Partnership is everything. Partnership is an opportunity to just yoke up with everything that this ministry is.
And I know this place has invested a lot in our family and invests a lot in a ton of people, and I could see that it changes lives.
Supporting what he's doing and what his ministry is doing, it's part of coming alongside him. It's part of being grateful for what he's done in my life.
Walking around the building, just seeing the staff members, just the exciting, the lives that get changed here. You know, we're all part of that because we're partnering. So it's kind of like, yeah, your family.
The ministry is just doing so much that is so on the right track that if you're going to put your money any place, that's the place to put it.
So I just want to say thank you to all the partners for investing in this ministry, and that helps go and change people's lives.
Partnership with this ministry has been amazing. When Andrew spoke the other morning and he said, just look around, this is part of the fruit that you sowed into, I was blown away. I was like, we did this, we're a part of this.
I have 4 boys in the ministry, 4 sons that are in the ministry, and they're a blessing. And I just want to see my grandchildren not have to go through the things that I went through in life. So being a partner in this place gives me the hope that they can continue that partnership.
It was my husband's decision because he was watching Andrew before I even knew who he was, and he felt the Lord speak to him and just say, I want you to partner up with Andrew.
I think it's awesome to be a part of this, to contribute and further the Lord's work so that his word can get out and touch other people's lives like it's blessed me and my family.
So, I mean, we would partner with him. I'll do it till the day I die because his teaching, the Lord is using him to change my entire view on God.
Be sure to look for the next Inside Story here on the Wommack Ministries website. Do you feel like something is missing in the way you're living your life? In the September Inside Story, Andrew and Stephen talk about the miracle of how the Holy Spirit brought them together to produce gospel truth in January 2000. Learn how to tap into the power of your story with Stephen Bransford's exciting new book, You've Got a Story, and It's Better Than You Think. I have my book. Do you have yours? In October, Carrie Pickett interviews Richard and Donna Harris, who share their amazing journey of coming to Caris, which then led to the beginning of the Truth and Liberty Coalition. See you next time